What if the very experiences you wish had never happened? The heartbreaks, the sleepless nights, the disappointments are the ones that carved you into who you are. Have you ever felt like your hardest struggles shaped you in ways nothing else could? Comment 1 if you believe pain has been a teacher in your life. Comment 2 if you still wish you could erase those painful moments entirely. It sounds cruel, almost unfair. Why should pain be the sculptor of identity? Why should your uniqueness be born not out of joy, but out of wounds? Yet Carl Jung reminds us of a radical truth. Pain is not random. The unconscious uses suffering as a chisel, slowly shaping the hidden form within you. Every heartbreak, every silence, every disappointment has etched its mark into your psyche. Think of the small but unforgettable details, the heavy silence at the dinner table after an argument that no one dared to resolve, the phone call that never came, leaving you suspended between hope and despair, the quiet ache of being misunderstood, sitting in a room full of people yet feeling invisible. These aren't just fleeting moments. They are psychic fingerprints pressing into your being and forming contours no one else carries. Jung once wrote, "What is not made conscious will manifest as fate." Pain, then, is not an accident. It is the summons of your shadow, the dark, neglected parts of you demanding to be seen. When you ignore it, it seeps into your body as tension into your nights, as insomnia into your relationships, as patterns you can't quite escape. When you face it, however, something shifts. Pain transforms from a prison into a teacher, from chaos into meaning. Think about the last time you faced pain that eventually revealed something about yourself. Comment 1 if you see pain as a source of hidden wisdom. Comment 2 if you still find it mostly a burden you'd rather escape. Becoming your true self requires walking through this fire. Pain burns away illusions, the false identities you clung to, the masks you wore for approval. Beneath the ashes lies something raw and undeniable, the essence of you. So let us journey into the heart of this paradox, that pain, far from being proof of weakness, is the signature of your uniqueness. You are not unique despite your wounds. You are unique because of them. Every human life carries pain, but no two people carry it in the same way. This is the paradox that Jung's psychology invites us to explore. Suffering is universal, yet its imprint is utterly unique. Your wounds do not simply repeat a general human pattern. They carve a singular design shaping the way you see the world, the choices you make, the truths you cannot avoid. This video is not about avoiding pain, nor about romanticizing it. Instead, it is about listening to what Jung called the voice of the unconscious, the messages hidden inside your struggles. Pain is the symbolic language of the psyche. If you learn to read it, you discover not only why you suffer, but also who you are becoming through that suffering. We will walk together through Jungian ideas, the shadow, the persona, the individuation process, the collective unconscious, but always through the doorway of lived experience, heartbreaks, betrayals, moments of silence, illnesses, and losses. Each section will uncover a new facet of how pain does more than wound you. It writes your personal mythology. This is not an abstract theory. You've seen it in your own life and in the lives of others, someone who only discovered their calling after losing everything. Someone who became deeply compassionate because of years of rejection. Someone whose silence in childhood became the seed of creative expression in adulthood. The message is simple yet transformative. Pain is not here to erase you. Pain is here to reveal you. Beneath every wound lies a truth only you can uncover. Here are 6 eternal truths about pain that belong uniquely to you. Truth 1. Pain as the gateway to the shadow. Have you ever noticed how pain has a way of cornering you, forcing you to face the very parts of yourself you'd rather keep hidden? The anger that flares when someone disrespects you, the loneliness that gnaws when a friend forgets you, the grief that swells after love is lost. These are not random emotions. They are emissaries of your shadow, the unconscious reservoir of repressed feelings, desires, and fears that Jung insisted we must confront if we are ever to be whole. Jung's insight was stark. What is not made conscious will manifest as fate. Pain, then, is not merely an obstacle to be removed. It is a mirror held up to your hidden self. You think the breakup was about the other person leaving, but perhaps it was also about the part of you that never learned to feel worthy alone. You think the stress at work comes from your boss's demands, but maybe it also comes from your own buried rage at always being the good one never allowed to say no. When you avoid pain, you avoid the shadow. You continue patterns repeating bad relationships, tolerating draining jobs, ignoring your body's cries for rest, because the unconscious keeps manifesting what you will not face. But when you lean into pain, when you dare to ask, what is this really showing me about myself? Something cracks open. Pain becomes not a curse, but a key. Picture it like walking into a cave. At first, the darkness terrifies you. Yet as your eyes adjust, you see treasures glimmering on the walls, forgotten strengths, hidden creativity, truths you never allowed yourself to admit. The shadow is frightening, yes, but it is also the storehouse of your wholeness. Pain is the invitation to enter that cave. And this leads us to the next truth. Pain does not only expose what you've hidden, it also writes your story in a way no one else can ever replicate. Truth 2. Pain as a personal signature. Why is it that 2 people can live through the same event, yet carry completely different scars? A family loses its father. One sibling withdraws into silence while another becomes fiercely defiant. A breakup happens. One person closes off, never trusting again, while the other dives into self-discovery. The same external event, yet 2 entirely different inner destinies. Why? Jung would argue it is because the unconscious shapes each of us uniquely. Pain is filtered through the psychic structures you carry, your archetypes, your complexes, your personal history. Just as no 2 fingerprints are identical, no 2 patterns of suffering are ever repeated. Pain becomes your personal signature, a code that reveals who you are becoming. Think of scars. Each scar on the body has a story, a moment of impact. But no scar is identical to another. The way the skin heals is unique to the body it belongs to. Psychic scars are the same. Your heartbreak, your rejection, your grief. They mark you in a way no one else will ever carry. They are like handwriting etched into your being. And here lies the paradox. Without pain, certain truths about you would remain buried forever. The loneliness you dread is the shadow exposing your fear of rejection. The anger you suppress is the unconscious pointing to your unmet need for respect. The grief you carry is evidence of how deeply you once loved. Pain transforms abstract truths into undeniable realities. In this sense, pain is not merely a wound, but a teacher with an accent only you can understand. Others may sympathize, but only you can decode the exact meaning of your suffering. This is why Jung's process of individuation, becoming your true self, requires pain. Without it, you would remain generic. With it, you become unrepeatable. So, when you look at your scars, both visible and invisible, remember they are not proof of weakness. They are proof of uniqueness. Pain has signed your name into the fabric of existence in a handwriting no one else can imitate. And from this uniqueness, another truth unfolds. Pain not only defines who you are, it also whispers what you most deeply need. Truth 3. Pain as the language of need. What if your pain is not just random suffering, but a message, a language your psyche uses when words are no longer enough? Consider this: the tightness in your chest after a breakup is not just stress. It is grief unspoken, a silent ache asking you to honor what was lost. The heaviness in your shoulders, carried by the one who has always been the strong one, is not mere fatigue. It is the unacknowledged need to finally ask for help. Pain is the body and soul conspiring to say something essential is missing. Jung understood that symptoms, anxiety, sadness, even physical ailments often mask deeper truths. They are symbols from the unconscious demanding to be interpreted. To ignore them is to miss the message. To listen is to discover your unmet needs. Think of anger. Beneath anger often lies a hunger for respect, dignity, or recognition. Think of loneliness. At its core is the longing to be truly seen. Think of grief. Behind it hides the measure of how deeply you once loved. Pain unmasks these truths with a blunt honesty that joy rarely provides. A real-life example: someone loses their job. At first, devastation. But beneath the loss is a message, perhaps a suppressed desire for freedom, or a hidden calling that the soul can no longer ignore. Another person goes through a breakup. The pain is unbearable, but within it emerges the recognition that they had been living half asleep, avoiding solitude, avoiding themselves. In both cases, pain strips away illusion to reveal need. Imagine pain as a coded letter sealed by the unconscious. Most people throw the letter away trying to forget, but those who dare to open it, who decode the meaning, find guidance. Suffering transforms into compass. This is why Jung often emphasized that neurosis, anxiety, and inner conflict are not enemies, but invitations. Pain asks you to listen. It does not appear to punish you, but to redirect you toward what is essential. And once you recognize this, another truth becomes clear. Pain does not only reveal needs, it also reveals the hidden resources you never knew you carried. Truth 4. Pain as the revelation of hidden strengths. Have you ever noticed how in the very moments you thought you couldn't survive something unexpected, inside you came alive? That sleepless night when you were sure you'd collapse the next morning, yet somehow you made it through. That heartbreak that left you in pieces, yet weeks later, you discovered a resilience you didn't know you had. Pain has a strange way of awakening hidden reserves of strength. Carl Jung would describe this as the unconscious compensating for conscious weakness. In Jungian psychology, when the ego feels shattered, the psyche does not abandon you. Instead, it pushes forward forgotten aspects of yourself. These are often archetypal energies: the warrior rising in times of crisis, the wise old man, woman whispering intuition when logic fails, the healer emerging when you tend to wounds. Pain is the catalyst that summons these dormant figures from within the collective unconscious. Take, for instance, someone who has always been timid, avoiding confrontation. When tragedy strikes, say the illness of a loved one, suddenly courage appears. Not borrowed courage, but something innate waiting for the right moment to manifest. Or think of a person abandoned in love. What surfaces afterward is not only sorrow, but also the artist archetype channeling heartbreak into music, poetry, or painting. A metaphor. Imagine a forest after a wildfire. The flames devastate, yes, but in the charred soil, seeds that lay dormant for decades finally sprout. Pain is the fire. Strength is the hidden seed. Without the fire, the seed might never awaken. Jung wrote that individuation, becoming your true self, is less about acquiring qualities and more about uncovering what was already there, buried in the unconscious. Pain strips you down, leaving you raw. And in that rawness, the hidden layers of your psyche have space to emerge. So while pain feels like destruction, it is also revelation. It shows you that you are more than you imagined. It uncovers the resilience, creativity, and courage that ordinary comfort would never demand of you. Have you noticed hidden strengths or creativity emerge during your toughest times? Comment 1. If pain has awakened strengths you didn't know you had. Comment 2. If you're still searching for those hidden reserves. And once strength is revealed, pain takes on yet another role. It not only shapes who you are, but also redefines your relationship with others, altering how you connect and empathize. Truth 5. Pain as the deepener of connection and empathy. Why is it that the people who have suffered the most often carry the deepest compassion? Why do those with scars on their soul tend to listen differently, with a patience and softness that others can't fake? Jung would say that pain dismantles the illusion of separateness. When you suffer, you are forced to recognize the limits of control, the fragility of existence. This recognition awakens what he called the collective unconscious, the deep sense that your struggles are not just yours, but part of the universal human story. Pain makes you porous. It opens the walls of the ego and allows you to feel the reality of others. Think about it. A person who has known grief can sit with another in loss without rushing to fix or explain. They know that silence can be more healing than words. A person who has battled anxiety can recognize the subtle tremor in someone else's voice and offer presence rather than judgment. Pain carves channels within us, and those channels become conduits for empathy. Culturally, we see this in figures who transformed suffering into service. Consider Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps and later founded logotherapy, teaching that meaning is found not in avoiding suffering, but in responding to it. His pain became not only his teacher, but also a bridge to the pain of others. In metaphor, imagine a cracked clay pot. At first glance, it looks broken, but when a candle is placed inside, the cracks allow the light to shine out. Your pain is the crack. Empathy is the light that escapes through it. Without the wound, the light would remain hidden. And here lies the paradox. The very experiences that made you feel isolated, rejection, grief, humiliation, are the ones that later make you capable of the most authentic connection. Pain individualizes you, yes, but it also universalizes you. It makes you a unique node in the great web of human suffering and healing. From this deepened connection, we see the next truth: pain does not just bind us to others, it also serves as a compass pointing us toward our true direction in life. Truth 7. Pain as the catalyst for transformation. Why is it that comfort rarely changes us, but pain reshapes us entirely? You don't reinvent yourself when things are easy. You reinvent yourself when things fall apart. Pain is the alchemical fire that turns who you were into who you are meant to become. In Jungian psychology, this process is central to individuation. The ego, your familiar identity, your persona, clings to stability. But the unconscious pushes for growth, for wholeness. When the gap between the two becomes too wide, pain erupts. It is the psyche's way of saying the old self must die for the new self to be born. Jung compared this process to transformation myths, where the hero must descend into the underworld, suffer trials, and emerge changed. Think of someone who endured a devastating loss. At first, their world collapses, yet slowly, painfully, they begin to reorder their life, new priorities, new values, new strength. Who they are after the loss is not who they were before. Pain has not only marked them, it has transformed them. A metaphor. Imagine a caterpillar entering the chrysalis. From the outside, it looks like destruction. The body dissolves into chaos. But within that dissolution, wings are forming. Pain is the chrysalis, the dissolution of what was familiar. Without it, the butterfly cannot emerge. Real life gives countless examples. The addict who only finds recovery after hitting rock bottom. The person who only learns authenticity after a betrayal shatters the mask they wore. The parent who discovers unshakable strength after the challenge of caring for a sick child. Pain tears down, yes, but it also rebuilds on foundations that are truer, deeper, unshakable. And this is the paradox Jung teaches us. The psyche demands growth, but growth demands suffering. Without pain, we remain static. With it, we are compelled into transformation. Thus, the story of pain is not just one of endurance. It is one of metamorphosis. Pain is not the enemy of your becoming. It is the very furnace in which your becoming takes place. When you look back across the landscapes of your pain, what do you see? At first glance, maybe only wreckage, the silence that cut you, the loss that hollowed you, the rejection that scarred you. But from a Jungian perspective, every wound was more than an injury. It was an initiation. Pain led you into your shadow, forcing you to meet the parts of yourself you wanted to deny. It marked you with a personal signature, a set of scars that no one else could ever replicate. It spoke the language of your unmet needs, pointing to what truly matters. It revealed hidden strengths, awakened empathy, guided your purpose, and ultimately demanded your transformation. This is the deeper message. Suffering is not proof that you are broken. It is proof that you are becoming. Jung insisted that individuation, the path to becoming your true self, is never achieved through ease. It is carved by fire, silence, tears, and loss. There is no coming to consciousness without pain, he wrote. Your uniqueness then is not found in avoiding pain, but in the way you carry it, decode it, and allow it to reshape you. Pain strips away what is false and leaves only what cannot be taken. And that essence, raw, undeniable, unrepeatable, is you. When you step back and look at the journey through pain, the shadow you face, the scars that became your personal signature, the hidden needs decoded, the strengths revealed, the empathy deepened, the compass toward purpose, and the transformation demanded. A single truth emerges. Pain is the proof of your uniqueness. Carl Jung often emphasized that the psyche does not waste suffering. Each wound you carry is not a random accident, but part of the shaping process that makes you unlike anyone else. Pain individualizes you. It etches into your being a pattern of experience that cannot be copied, not even by someone who has lived through the same event. Think of it this way. The shadow you confronted is not the same shadow another person meets. The needs your pain exposed are not the same needs in someone else's life. The strength summoned the empathy born. The direction revealed, all of them bear your fingerprint. Pain customizes the path of individuation, carving you into singular form. A metaphor. Imagine a vast library of human stories. From a distance, the shelves look alike. But open any single book, and you find a narrative no other book contains. Your pain is the ink that wrote your chapters, the very mark that ensures your story will never be repeated. This is why your wounds are not a contradiction to your uniqueness. They are the evidence of it. Without them, you would remain vague, undefined. With them, you stand as one of a kind. You are not unique despite your pain. You are unique because of it. Every scar, every ache, every silence has been the brushstroke in a painting that exists only once you. If there is one truth Jung would want you to carry from this journey, it is this: pain is not the enemy of your becoming. It is the crucible in which your becoming takes place. Every heartbreak, every silence, every disappointment has not diminished you. It has refined you. Too often we treat pain as a flaw to be hidden, as evidence that something is wrong with us. But what if the opposite is true? What if your scars are the clearest proof that life has been shaping you into someone who cannot be duplicated? The shadow, you confronted the needs uncovered, the strengths revealed, the empathy born, the purpose awakened, the transformation demanded together. They form a pattern that exists nowhere else in the human story. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." To deny your suffering is to deny your own becoming. But to acknowledge it, to integrate it, to give it meaning, that is to step onto the path of individuation. That is to claim your one-of-a-kind existence. So perhaps the invitation is not to erase your pain, but to honor it, to let it remind you of the depths you have walked through, to let it soften your heart toward others, to let it guide you toward what matters most, to let it become the proof that you are alive in a way only you can be. You are not the exception to human suffering, but the way you carry it, the way you transform it, that is yours alone. You are not unique despite your pain. You are unique because of it. And maybe the most courageous act you can take is not to hide your wounds, but to wear them as part of your story, trusting that in those very lines, the shape of your true self is revealed. If there is one truth Jung would want you to carry from this journey, it is this: pain is not the enemy of your becoming. It is the crucible in which your becoming takes place. Every heartbreak, every silence, every disappointment has not diminished you. It has refined you. Too often, we treat pain as a flaw to be hidden, as evidence that something is wrong with us. But what if the opposite is true? What if your scars are the clearest proof that life has been shaping you into someone who cannot be duplicated? The shadow, you confronted the needs uncovered, the strengths revealed, the empathy born, the purpose awakened, the transformation demanded together. They form a pattern that exists nowhere else in the human story. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." To deny your suffering is to deny your own becoming. But to acknowledge it, to integrate it, to give it meaning, that is to step onto the path of individuation. That is to claim your one-of-a-kind existence. So, perhaps the invitation is not to erase your pain, but to honor it, to let it remind you of the depths you have walked through, to let it soften your heart toward others, to let it guide you toward what matters most, to let it become the proof that you are alive in a way only you can be. You are not the exception to human suffering, but the way you carry it, the way you transform it, that is yours alone. You are not unique despite your pain. You are unique because of it. And maybe the most courageous act you can take is not to hide your wounds, but to wear them as part of your story, trusting that in those very lines, the shape of your true self is revealed. May your scars remind you of your strength, and may your journey continue with courage. See you in the next video, where we'll keep exploring the hidden depths of the soul together. As you reflect on this journey, what role has pain played in shaping your story? Comment 1 if you see your scars as proof of your uniqueness. Comment 2 if you're still learning to embrace them as part of your becoming.